We asked ChatGPT the top marketing questions companies have, and we are taking them on one by one. Hear what these industry leaders say so you'll be in the know. Our guest today is Jaime Chambron, a career advancement and personal branding expert. We are answering the question, how should marketers brand themselves to maintain a strong personal brand identity in the professional world? Welcome, Jaime. I'm excited to have you here today.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
I'd love to start with, why is it important to brand yourself? What are the benefits if you're a business professional and you brand yourself?
You want to be memorable when you meet people, right? If you're out, no matter what role or job you have, you're out networking, maybe you're starting to apply to jobs or you're out there promoting your company. It's really great if you can be clear on what you do for who and the value you provide. And so that's part of a personal brand, is getting to that succinct message so that people want to learn more about you, want to do business with you, want to build a business relationship or a personal relationship. So it's just getting really clear on your strengths and what you bring to the table and being able to communicate that effectively, be it in person, online, on a piece of paper. Those are the kinds of things that just, it'll help you get ahead in business. It'll help you expand your network. Lots of great value in having your personal brand developed.
And what do you think, what are some of the most effective ways to do that as a business professional? What channels do you use? How do you even go about starting to think about it and to be sure that you are portraying your traits, your strengths, the way you want them to be portrayed?
First is really thinking about the patterns of what you've done in your career so far. What are the things that are really great? Are you a big revenue generator? Are you someone who can scale businesses? Are you someone who does optimization work? Are you great at developing high performing teams? You got to really hone in on what's that thing that really is your, in some ways your superpower, that you can then use in all the different conversations, be it live conversations, be it in different social media channels, be it in your resume. But it's really just first honing in on, what are you great at? You may need to talk to some of your colleagues or friends to get feedback too, of like, is this what I'm really good at? Does this resonate with you? So those are some of the things just to kind of get started in clarifying what you're really great at that would resonate to, another business partner or a potential future boss. They would go, oh, you sound like someone that may be of value to my team. Let's talk more.
But also, if you have a skill that you do that no one else does, or that complements a skill that's very unique in the profession you're in, I guess that would be important too. So it may not be, the thing you're the best at, but it is the skill you happen to have.
Yes, definitely anything that's going to differentiate you, be it skill, be it your story, something unique that brought you to where you are in your career. All those things play into how you can build your brand.
So once you have your story, you have your skills, you have what you want to put out there. What channels should you use, and how should you go about starting to tell your brand to your different audiences, I guess, and where do you start? Which one?
Hands down, LinkedIn for professional business networking online. That's where all the professional, sales outreach, career development with the way LinkedIn is used and built today. Facebook, Instagram, all the other channels, YouTube, if you use those channels regularly for not just personal communications, those oftentimes bleed into business relationships, business values. You need to really be consistent and clear on all of those channels that you use frequently. But I would first and foremost start with LinkedIn and then get it into the other channels you use often.
So if you decide, okay, I am going to use LinkedIn, I have my story. I mean, I know what I want to get out there. I know what differentiates myself. Just to get pedantic about it for a moment, do you write a blog? How do you then communicate it through that channel?
Really, it's about getting your profile, what I call optimized to begin with. So writing your story in your about you section, having a great headline for your LinkedIn profile, having a professional photo. It's amazing what people post in photos on LinkedIn. It's not your personal network, it's your professional network. So have a professional photo. get to understanding a little bit on how LinkedIn works in terms of maybe getting some recommendations of former people you've done business with or colleagues. It's setting up that profile first and foremost and really getting comfortable in using some of the basics of LinkedIn in terms of engagement. So engaging with colleagues of yours posts or engaging with your company's information, your company's post, sharing things. So it's first and foremost profile. Second, I'd say just get used to the engagement before even trying to come up with your own content.
I noticed lately some people are sort of using LinkedIn as almost a Facebook. What are your thoughts on that? In light of the fact that you're trying to brand yourself, does that help you? Does it hurt you?
I think it's a fine line because most people know and use LinkedIn professionally. And so you just need to be cautious in terms of, are you sharing something personally that really is more helping you be authentic versus having a conversation that really should be in a different social media channel? I've seen, like, case in point, a CEO who decided to post going to take a sabbatical, but it was more to let the industry know he's taking a sabbatical. So there's just a fine line, and it depends on how authentic you want to be on LinkedIn. And is this something that's just part of your values and some of the personal things that you share? Because you share your personal things in business.
Right, right. And also, you do want to get your story out there. So, as storytellers, that's what we focus on at Cactex Media. We are first and foremost storytellers. How do you feel like developing that story and getting that story out there in the personal branding to brand yourself? How do you craft that personal story? What's acceptable? Are there things that aren't acceptable to make part of your story?
Yeah, and that's back to how transparent, how much you really want to share, because you can really be very buttoned up professional, don't need to share any background. Where some people want to go back to like how, things in their childhood brought them to their path of study, that brought them to their early days of their career, and maybe certain role models that shaped where they are. So it's really how comfortable are you, like what you value and what you'd want to share with it professionally. And that's just, again, a personal preference, but you can go as buttoned up of like just more about what you've done in your career versus like, here are the things that influenced me, the people, the experiences that got me to where I am today. So just it's a wide spectrum, and it's really up to the individual of how comfortable they feel and what they want to share, because this is the masses. This is thousands upon thousands of people that'll uncover your profile.
Right, but let's give advice though. I mean, I'm sure you should be, when you're developing your own personal story. What are the sort of the three things you really should do though? I'm sure one is focus. What else? Like really hone it in and focus it. It can't be an hour story. It needs to be right.
Yeah, so you're limited in characters. What I like to do with my clients is look into like what's their why? Like why do you do what you do? So what's your purpose? Like that's something I like to try and get out and share with my about my clients. I like to highlight a few key successes. So you don't need to ramble about like how you got to where you are, but what are some of those successes and wins that propelled you in your career so people can understand those are like examples of the things that you accomplish in your career. And then I'd say the third thing is just honing back into those. What are those differentiators of yours? What stands out? And normally I try and find three key differentiators that helps share and explain this is who I'm like to work with, or to be a leader, or to be a business partner. So those are the three areas I usually hone in on when I'm working on telling someone's kind of a story on LinkedIn.
Right. And just from my perspective as a storyteller, it's important that they be authentic things
Yes.
that you're using, and that you don't force something that or you perceive as being important. Because if you're not passionate about it, it sort of falls flat at some point in the process. It may work on LinkedIn, but then when you're going after the job, or, you're talking to people, if it's not, ringing true and authentic, it sometimes just doesn't work. Would you
Right.
agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess, what are some other mistakes that you might make when you're branding yourself? There's so many things you really can do, and create visuals, create stories, create blogs. Are there any pitfalls that you can tell us to watch out for?
I'm partly the like rambling, trying to showcase way too many things, and it's not cohesive. So you kind of go all over the map of, I've accomplished this kind of thing and that kind of thing, and it's not a cohesive story. So it's like really getting to that center of like your why, your purpose. Um, I've seen people talk more about what they do, just the duties of what they do versus like what inspires you, what did you really accomplish. So I get that all the time when I start working with someone. It's like they focus more on the what versus the why and the how and the results of what they're doing. So that's another area I would be careful of. um, and just the other thing too is a lot of times people don't back to authenticity. People don't are afraid to use their own voice or style. Like they just want to do the like professional copy and paste someone else's profile. You really need to take the time to write it in your terms or get someone who can help you write it in your voice, your language. Like how would you talk about yourself? Because it's all in, I did this, I did that, but put it in like how you would pitch yourself, how you would tell someone in 30 seconds, what you do for who and the value you provide. Don't just copy and paste someone else's pitch.
Is it okay if I know people who say, I stay off social media, I don't want anything to do with social media, but they will be on LinkedIn. Do you say, like, when you're working with people, let's go across channels? Like, I know that the professional, that people will look at LinkedIn, but let's get a presence on Instagram or a presence on TikTok.
I'm not too concerned about must have presences on all these different channels. I think it's more important that if you are going to have a presence on TikTok, or Instagram or Facebook, that it's consistent and it's professional because you will easily be found via a Google search, your Facebook and your LinkedIn profiles. And they'll know quickly, does your professional and personal life, how aligned is it? Is there something really unprofessional on your other social channels? Those are the kinds of things more of as if you decide you want to use other social channels, just having some consistency and professionalism because it all kind of bleeds together now.
The other question I have is, what you're talking about and what you're doing is, I mean, it's work. It's work to do this. And you have a full-time job, or, I think you shouldn't just focus on this when you're out of work, right? You need to keep focusing on it as you're employed. How do you do it? What tips do you have to sort of maintaining your personal brand?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing and a habit to get into is having some sort of digital journal just to track, you know, daily reflection or weekly reflection. What were the accomplishments of your week? So if you can start to kind of have a repository of all the great things you've done, and most people reinvent themselves, as they're looking at like what's next in their career, advancing their career. What got you here is not going to get you to the next place. And so once you get to a point of, it's time to reflect on, I've done a lot of great things, but I'm ready for that next move, to then go, okay, how do I reposition myself for that next move?
Right. And you're always supposed to, right, look for the next job, right?
Mhm.
Try to prepare yourself for the next job, be looking. So you're working towards that. How do you personally brand yourself? What is your personal brand? Can you articulate it for me and tell me how you came to it?
I make the intangible tangible for professionals to have career breakthroughs. So, and how I got to that, because I've rebranded myself through my whole career. I made a major pivot in 2021, going into 2022, to really focus on career advancement for professionals. And so, for me, it's back to the like, what do I want to do next? Where am I going next? And what I realized as I was moving from a tech exec career of over 20 years where I was running services and building services and delivering services, it's all the intangibles. And I got really good at packaging and positioning and promoting them. And I realized what I do there is what I do now for humans. Humans are delivering a service. So I'm just helping them package their intangibles to make it really clear on what it is that they do. And so that's kind of how I landed on my brand today, is taking, even though I've been in this part of my career about 5 years now, taking what I've done over 20 plus years of experience and just taking it into the personal space.
I think there's a certain amount of pressure on marketing people to brand themselves and to do it effectively because we market, right? That's who we are. So I think, it can be intimidating stepping into it and figuring out like, okay, I really need to do this, right? I'm going to be judged on it because I market my company's services. So I really
Yep.
need to market my own, right? What other brands or companies do you see that you like their branding? I mean, since we're talking about personal branding, I would ask you that first. Famous people, non-famous people, who do you think's doing it well?
The company I really admire, and I see them post on Facebook, the CEO, and I'm pretty sure it is the CEO posting. It's a pretty large tech company called Gainsight, and it's very authentic, transparent, human interactions, and also helping, promote their thought leadership, but also be a helping hand in the industry. So with helping with like jobs and promotions and all these different things, they go above and beyond just what they're trying to promote from a business perspective and really helping an industry at large. And so I've really liked them.
Can you give me top 3 tips you'd give to marketing professionals who are trying to build their personal brand? Whatever, maybe I would say the top, either the first 3 things you should do, or maybe the first 3 boxes that you really need to check when creating and pushing out your personal brand.
First off is just figuring out what's that story, what's that thing, the differentiator, that superpower of yours. What is it that you can get really clear and crisp when saying, I do this for who, and this is the value I provide. So getting to that one liner based on patterns of experience or unique things that you do, figure out what that one liner is first and foremost. Second, get on LinkedIn if you're not already and get that profile maximized, optimized, content, skills, references. Just make sure you're alive on LinkedIn, and then get out there and engage, be it engage on LinkedIn or any other channels that is where your audience is, like who you're working with business wise, or who could be like your next company you may move to. Get out there and engage. And it's not just engaging online, it's also getting out there and getting back into networking and talking with people live, and doing your elevator pitch, but listening to what others brands are too, because you might learn as you begin to network more, things that you didn't think about you also do. So those are the 3 things would be, figure out your brand promise, basically, get on LinkedIn, and then begin to engage, be it on the different social media channels or getting out and network live.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Let's hope people get out there and do it. So thanks for
Yeah,
joining me today.
agreed. You got it. Thanks for having me.